Not good. Like, we can move this. That's good. Okay. All right. So we're gonna have the frontal bone is right here. This is gonna be the ethmoid bone. So this mohawk projection part right there, that's called the crista galli. And then the indent next to it is the cribriform plate. This is where cranial nerve number 1 is going to sit, the olfactory bulb. The olfactory nerve will come then out of the nasal cavity right here. So then you should see a suture right there. This bone is going to be the sphenoid bone right here. This is the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. This is the greater wing of the sphenoid bone. So this is going to be the blue portion for development. So this is all going to be neural crest development. And frontal bone is also neural crest as well. And then this is all going to be red. That's all going to be mesoderm development. So for our lesser wing, right underneath the lesser wing, or right next to the lesser wing, you're going to have a hole right there. That hole is called the optic canal. So the optic canal comes forward. You should be able to see what that hole is. That's where cranial nerve number 2 goes through. That's the optic nerve, right like that. Then you're going to have another larger hole. It's called the superior orbital fissure. So the superior orbital fissure goes underneath the lesser wing, comes out the orbit in this deeper groove right there. So you're going to have cranial nerve number 3, number 4, 5, 1, and 6 coming through there. Because those are all of the ones that are going to innervate the muscles of the eye. And 5-1 is going to be the ophthalmic branch of trigeminal. And then what it's going to do is it's going to come up this way. And this is the supraorbital foramen. And it's going to go underneath the supraorbital foramen and come up and innervate the top of the face. Okay, sensations up above, like there. So 1, 2, you got 3, 4, 5, 1, and 6 come out, superior orbital fissure. And then we're going to have the next hole right here. This is the foramen rotundum. The foramen rotundum, you see how it comes back out from the orbit right there, and it goes through the inferior orbital fissure, and then will actually come out the infraorbital foramen as well. This is going to be where 5-2, the mandibular branch of trigeminal, comes through, and it innervates the jaw mostly. So this is when you go to the dentist and they give you Novocaine, you're actually like knocking out the mandibular branch of trigeminal because it's doing facial sensations. Then this is the foramen lacerum. It's not a real hole in the skull, so nothing goes through that. This is the foramen ovale or ovale. 5-3 is going to go through there. So that's the mandibular branch of trigeminal. The mandibular branch of trigeminal is then going to come down like this and come through like that. And then if you have a mandible, grab the mandible. So the mandible is going to be right there. See, that's why it's the mandibular branch. You guys can see that. So what's going to happen is 5-3, the mandibular branch of trigeminal is going to come down right here, and it's going to go through the mandibular foramen on the back of the mandible, and then comes all the way into the mandible, comes out the mental foramen. So when you go to the dentist and they give you Novocaine in your lower jaw, you're knocking out 5-3 because it's doing facial sensations all to your jaw. So that's 5-1, 5-2, 5-3. Then we had, remember, 6 is supraorbital foramen, so like 6 comes back that way. 5, 6. Then we have to do 7 and 8. So this is the internal acoustic meatus right there. It's part of the petrous portion of the temporal bone. Cranial nerve 7 and 8 are going to sit right there. Okay. Cranial nerve 7 is also going to dive downward, and it's going to come out of this little hole right here. So this is the styloid process, this is the mastoid process. It's going to come out of the styloid-mastoid foramen that goes right between them. That's where 7 is going to come out. Remember, 7 is facial, right? So it's doing all of our like facial expression muscles, so it has to come forward for facial expression muscles. 8 is going to be vestibular cochlear. So remember, this is where you're going to find your vestibular cochlear device. If she told you about that, like you actually have to pretty much vibrate the petrous portion in order to vibrate that to send a vibration out of that nerve. So that's 7, 8, and then you're gonna have 9, 10, and 11 going through the jugular foramen. Then the last one is 12. 12 goes through right there, the hypoglossal canal. The hypoglossal canal will go underneath the occipital condyles and come down and innervate like neck muscles, basically. So not so bad, right? It goes from 1 to 12. You just got to kind of know where it breaks up. And if you know where they are on the brain, so you're going to have 2, 2, 4, and 4. The first 2 cranial nerves are associated with the cerebrum. The next 2 cranial nerves are associated with the midbrain. The next 4 are associated with the pons, and the next 4 are associated with the medulla oblongata. So the frontal lobe is going to sit here, so you have 2 right there. You're going to have 2, and then you have 4, and you have 4 right there. So it's just like 2, and then you're going to have like, this gets a little crazy, but like 2, and then you have 4, and you have 4 right there. So hopefully that'll help you guys.